Today's objective is today will build my fluency by reading like a storyteller. Now, you're probably wondering, Miss Garcia, how do I read like a storyteller? Well, it's easy, really. To start, you just match the character's tone. So, think about how is the character feeling in this part of the story. If the character is happy, then the character's tone would also be happy. If the character is feeling mad or angry at this point in the story, then the character's tone would probably be angry as well. If the character is feeling sad, then the tone of the character's voice would be sad, and so on. You also want to think to yourself, is a character speaking or is it a narrator? So if it's a character, you're going to come up with a voice that you think matches the character. If it's a narrator, then you just use your normal reading voice. You also remember to use punctuation to give you clues. So remember, a period tells you to pause and to take a breath. A comma also tells you to take a pause, but it also tells you to scoop some words, pause, and then scoop the rest of the words. And exclamation marks tell you to say things in an excited voice, and question marks tell you to make your voice go up at the end. Now, don't forget that we learned reread on Monday, and we learned how to scoop on Tuesday. So all of these strategies actually work best when you use them together. Great readers use them as a team. So if you practice and use only one, you're going to get better at reading for sure, but you won't become a great reader. In order to become a great reader, you need to use all three of these strategies together. So as we learn and practice our new strategy today, continue thinking about the strategies from Monday and Tuesday, because when you combine them all, that's when you'll become great. So here you can see another page from our mentor text for this week called Island Born by Junot Diaz. And I'm going to read you this page, remembering to read like a storyteller. So I'm going to be thinking about the character's tone, the character's feeling, and also paying attention to punctuation. I'll also ask myself, is this a character speaking or is it a narrator? Listen closely. So when her teacher, Miss Obi, told the class, "Please draw a picture of the country you are originally from, your first country, and bring it in tomorrow," everyone got super excited. "I'm going to put in pyramids," said Dahlia. "And I'll draw a canal this long," Franklin said. "There's going to be a mongoose in mine," Nelson yelled. Nelson always yelled. Now, as I read that page, I was keeping in mind all of the suggestions that I told you before I got started. I asked myself, what is the character's tone? How are the characters feeling in this moment? I also asked myself, is this a character talking or is it a narrator talking? Then I also paid attention to punctuation to help give me clues about the way the author meant for that part to be read. Well, when I look at this text, I know that the kids were really excited because that's what the text said. It said, everyone got super excited. The narrator told us that. So, as the kids were speaking, I used a really excited voice. At the end, it also said that Nelson yelled his statement about the mongoose, so I yelled that part of the story. The rest of it was told as a narrator, so I just used my normal speaking voice. When the teacher was talking, I used a teacher voice, and that was easy for me because it also kind of sounds like my normal voice. So I thought about all of the things that were happening and working together to decide how I was going to read this text. I'm going to model it for you in another way so that you can see what it might sound like if I use different voices. Let's check it out. So when her teacher, Miss Obi, told the class, "Please draw a picture of the country you are originally from, your first country, and bring it in tomorrow," everyone got super excited. "I'm going to put in pyramids," said Dahlia. "And I'll draw a canal this long," Franklin said. the mongoose in mine, Nelson yelled. Nelson always yelled. So just like I did the first time, I had a few questions in my mind as I read this text. I thought to myself, what is the character's tone? Well, the characters, remember, are the teacher and all of the kids. So in the book, it tells me that the kids were super excited, so I tried to use voices and kid voices to be specific that were really excited. Then for Miss Obie, I came up with a voice that I thought could sound like a woman's voice, and then the narrator's voice just sort of sounded like my own. I also know that the tone of this part of the story is kind of happy because we're just getting introduced to the book. And it's all about kids in their classroom, and they're just having a good time working on a project. So I know that it's supposed to be kind of fun. I also paid attention to punctuation so that I could get some clues on how to read the different parts. There were lots of periods, lots of quotation marks, which told me to use a special voice. And also there were some exclamation marks, which told me to read it in an excited way. I also found some parentheses, and that told me to scoop that whole sentence together. So it sounded really fluid and very fluent. For reading today, you're going to choose a text. Any text that you love to read will do. You're going to continue to work on building your fluency using our 3 strategies from this week. So practicing reread, scoop into longer phrases, and then today's strategy, which was to read like a storyteller. Now, as you read like a storyteller, keep in mind all of the things that I mentioned. So first, ask yourself, is this a character or a narrator speaking? If it's a narrator, then just your normal voice will do. If it's a character, think about who the character is and choose a voice that matches that character. So if it's a grumpy old man like Mr. Fookwire, choose a voice that matches Mr. Fookwire. If it is a child, then use a child's voice. Don't use a monster's voice for someone like Mr. Fookwire because that doesn't make any sense. Your character's voices should match the character. Also think about the character's tone. So if you know how the character is feeling in that part of the story, that will inform you of the character's tone. So for example, if a character is feeling very happy, then the tone of the character's voice should match that. If a character is feeling really angry, then the tone of the character's voice should sound angry. Also think about punctuation. Remember, periods tell you to pause and to take a breath before you start the next sentence. A comma tells you to pause and to scoop that chunk all together before continuing on to the next part. Quotation marks tell you that characters are talking, so that's your permission to choose a voice. Question marks tell you to bring your voice up at the end of the sentence. Exclamation marks tell you to say things in an excited way, but remember, exclamation points don't always mean excited in a good way. Sometimes people can be excited in a crazy way or in an angry way, so pay attention to the mood and the feeling of the story. Now, you're going to go ahead and you're going to set your timer for 25 minutes and you're going to practice reading while also reading like a storyteller. You are not submitting any work to me today for reading, but I will be listening very closely in your performances next week to see if you have been practicing reading like a storyteller because you'll be doing the same thing in your performances for your shadow puppets next week. Good luck!